What's the matter, pal?
I'm off women for the duration.
Hey, Hollywood fans! Ready for another round of scandalous secrets and jaw-dropping affairs? If you loved our last video, you're in for something special. This time, we're serving up 10 more worst cheaters in Hollywood history, just as you voted for them. You don't want to miss this.
They're holding the plane for us.
Goodbye, Gerald.
Number 10. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner, often hailed as the quote-unquote world's most beautiful animal, left behind a legacy of scandalous Hollywood love affairs, unveiling shocking details in a series of deathbed confessions. Despite her initial reluctance to share her life story, Gardner eventually allowed journalist Peter Evans to ghostwrite the extraordinary tale of her life, driven by financial woes that led to the loss of her fortune. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations involved Gardner's wild first date with her soon-to-be third husband, Frank Sinatra. Picture this. Gardner and Sinatra, the latter already married at the time, embarked on a daring drive through the streets of Palm Springs, California under the cloak of darkness. The night unfolded with the duo shooting out streetlights and store windows with .38 caliber pistols, creating a scandalous chapter in Hollywood history. Despite their tumultuous union, Gardner and Sinatra tied the knot in 1951, only to part ways 6 years later. Yet their connection endured, with Gardner labeling Sinatra as the love of her life until her final breath. Rumors suggest that Sinatra played a pivotal role in Gardner's decision to postpone the publication of her memoirs, gradually providing the funds she would have earned, as reported by the New York Post. Born into a humble family in Grabtown, North Carolina on Christmas Eve 1922, Gardner's journey to stardom began when she was talent-spotted as a teenager. Hollywood beckoned, and she secured a 7-year contract with MGM. While her acting talents might not have caught the director's eye, the 5'8", 18-year-old did attract the attention of Hollywood heartthrob Mickey Rooney, who persistently pursued her for a date. Eventually, Gardner made Rooney, 6 inches shorter than she, her first husband a year later, marking the beginning of her tumultuous love life in the spotlight. The saga of Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner began while Gardner was still entangled in marriage with Mickey Rooney. Sinatra's infatuation with her ignited in 1944 when he caught a glimpse of her on a magazine cover, boldly declaring, quote, "I'm gonna marry that broad." Their first official date unfolded in 1948, and the chemistry between them was palpable. However, Gardner's romantic history had been marred by divorces from Mickey Rooney and bandleader Artie Shaw. Sinatra, though married at the time, couldn't resist pursuing Gardner. This sparked public uproar and concern from MGM, especially considering the potential damage to Ava's burgeoning career. Meanwhile, Sinatra's own career was on the decline, leading to the termination of his contract with MGM. The American public sided with Sinatra's wife, and Gardner found herself inundated with mail. The Catholic Legion of Decency even threatened to ban her films. Despite these challenges, the duo defied the odds and tied the knot in 1951, just days after Sinatra's divorce. At this juncture, Gardner had ascended to stardom, propelled by the success of Showboat. Notably, she played a pivotal role in rejuvenating Sinatra's career by securing him a part in From Here to Eternity, a move that would earn him an Academy Award. However, as Sinatra's success soared with Eternity and a new record contract, the cracks in their relationship deepened. The couple faced irreparable differences and ultimately divorced in 1957. Gardner lamented, quote, "Now that he's successful again, he's become his old, arrogant self. We were happier when we were on the skids." The highs and lows of their relationship definitely became an enduring tale in Hollywood's checkered history. Number 9. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn may have portrayed iconic heroes on the silver screen, but behind the debonair facade lurked a dark and disturbing reality. Flynn's rebellious streak was a defining aspect of his personality from his earliest years, setting the stage for a life filled with controversy and tragedy. Born in Tasmania to a distinguished professor of biology, Flynn's trajectory sharply contrasted with his academically minded father. His childhood and teenage years were marred by a relentless cycle, getting into schools based on his father's reputation, only to face expulsion shortly after due to truancy, fighting, or some other form of mischief. After being ousted from several schools in London, Flynn returned to Australia, ostensibly to start anew, or so his family hoped. However, his rebellious nature continued to overshadow any attempts at a fresh start. Despite his charming on-screen persona, Flynn's nights were marked by wild escapades that regularly graced tabloid covers, revealing a side of him far removed from his heroic characters. In 1926, Flynn decided to complete his education at a local school upon his return to Australia. However, his stay was short-lived. School officials expelled him, citing theft as the official reason, though Flynn insisted a darker truth lay beneath the surface. According to him, another student exposed his affair with a significantly older maid employed at the school. Yet this scandal was merely a prelude to the more sensational revelations that would follow. During this tumultuous period, Flynn was already engaged to Naomi Campbell Dibbs, the daughter of a prestigious local family. The exposure of his affair led to the demise of both his engagement and academic aspirations. The incident severed any chances of following in his father's scholarly footsteps. Flynn was now left to navigate a world that seemed tailor-made for a young womanizer with a rebellious streak. The question lingered: what career path suited him best? What's the best career for a young womanizer with a rebellious streak? I wonder. Number 8. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, often hailed as the King of Hollywood, found himself entangled in a real-life drama of love and scandal. His story intertwines with the vivacious Carole Lombard, creating a narrative that mirrors the plot of a classic Hollywood romance. Gable and Lombard first crossed paths on the set of the 1932 film No Man of Her Own. At the time, Gable, aged 31, was married to Houston socialite Maria Langham. Lombard, a youthful 24, was enduring an unhappy marriage with actor William Powell of The Thin Man fame. Despite filming intense love scenes, Lombard remarked to director Garson Kanin, quote, "We did all kinds of hot love scenes, and I never got any kind of tremble out of him at all." Their interactions remained strictly professional, with no romantic connection blossoming, at least not initially. 4 years later, the stars aligned at the Mayfair Ball, an event synonymous with Hollywood's elite. In 1936, Lombard, known for her prowess in throwing spectacular parties, was entrusted with overseeing the glamorous affair by Gone with the Wind director David O. Selznick. It was at this event that Gable and Lombard's connection deepened. From that night onward, their lives became inseparable. According to an article in the April 1942 issue of Photoplay magazine, the longest stretch Gable and Lombard went without seeing each other, from the night of the ball until Lombard's untimely death, was just 6 days. However, their relationship remained clandestine until 1938, when Gable's divorce was finalized. Yet, amidst the glitz and glamour, the dynamic duo faced their fair share of shadows. Lombard, yearning for motherhood, encountered the heartache of infertility. Despite numerous doctor visits and a consultation with a specialist at Johns Hopkins, no solutions for her fertility issues emerged. Adding to the tumult, allegations of infidelity haunted Gable. In his 2014 book, Fireball, Carole Lombard and the Mystery of Flight 3, author Robert Mattson claimed that Gable engaged in extramarital affairs, including one with his 21-year-old co-star Lana Turner. Mattson depicted Gable as self-centered, lacking self-discipline in matters of fidelity, given his awareness of being a sought-after catch in Hollywood. Said Mattson, Gable was self-centered and never felt it necessary to have self-discipline when it came to sex outside the relationship, because he had a sense of what a catch he was. And really, was Carole going to give all that up? She was a shrewd businesswoman and knew the power of being close to the biggest movie star in the world. In a shocking revelation, Mattson proposed a theory 75 years after the celebrity couple tied the knot. He speculated that Gable's affair indirectly contributed to Lombard's tragic death. According to Matson, a heated argument between Gable and Lombard about his infidelity occurred the night before her ill-fated plane trip in January 1942, the trip that would be her last. Determined to salvage her marriage, Lombard, as Matson theorized, opted for a last-minute flight on a, quote, bumpy commercial airplane with an unpressurized cabin, instead of a longer cross-country train ride. The consequences of that decision would prove devastating. Number 7. Spencer Tracy. In the grand tapestry of Hollywood romances, few stories are as enigmatic as that of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Theirs was a love that endured for 27 years, shrouded in secrecy and hidden from the prying eyes of an adoring public. Unbeknownst to many, Tracy was still legally bound to his wife, Louise Tracy, adding layers of complexity to their clandestine affair. Spencer Tracy's journey into matrimony began in 1923 when he married Louise, a fellow actor with whom he had shared the stage in a theater company. The union produced 2 children, John Tracy and Susie Tracy. However, the marriage faced turbulence in the early 1930s, marked by separations and reconciliations. Despite living in separate homes, Spencer and Louise remained legally wed. During this period of estrangement, Spencer reportedly engaged in affairs with other women, before fate led him to Katharine Hepburn. The sparks between Hepburn and Tracy ignited on the set of the 1942 film Woman of the Year. Little did the world know that the chemistry displayed on screen was a mere reflection of a more profound connection blossoming behind closed doors. The couple chose to keep their love hidden, a decision influenced by a web of interconnected reasons. Tracy's Catholic faith played a pivotal role, as divorce was not considered an option due to religious convictions. Only if Louise, an Episcopalian, had requested a divorce would Tracy have entertained the idea. However, that request never materialized, and Tracy, bound by his faith, grappled with the notion that his perceived sins, particularly his son's deafness, were a form of divine punishment. Director Joe Mankiewicz provided insight into Tracy's internal struggle, stating, quote, "He didn't leave Louise, he left the scene of his guilt." While the world speculated, whispered, and speculated some more, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn conducted their love affair within the discreet folds of Hollywood's golden age. The studio system, fraught with concerns about the impact of negative gossip on movie success, compelled the couple to keep their relationship clandestine. Yet, those within their orbit, co-workers and confidants, were privy to the open secret that was Spencer and Katharine's enduring love story. Within the Hollywood studio system's carefully curated image-making machinery, the fear of negative publicity loomed large. Studios were keenly aware of the potential repercussions of public knowledge regarding Tracy and Hepburn's affair. However, the trio of Spencer, Tracy, and Louise seemed to navigate the situation with an unusual acceptance, acknowledging the unconventional dynamics of their relationships. For nearly 3 decades, Spencer and Hepburn's connection flourished, both on and off the silver screen. They shared the spotlight in 9 films, creating cinematic magic in classics like Adam's Rib, Pat and Mike, and their poignant swan song, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Despite the public's awareness of their romance, the couple managed to carve out a private world for themselves amid the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. Their discreet rendezvous at the studio lot became an open secret. Gene Kelly once remarked, quote, "At lunchtime, they'd just meet and sit on a bench on the lot. They'd hold hands and talk, and everybody left them alone in their little private world." It was a testament to the unspoken rule among those in the know. The privacy of Spencer and Katharine's world was sacrosanct. After Spencer's passing in 1967, Katharine, a woman known for her independence, chose to keep their love story shielded from public scrutiny until after Louise's death in 1983. In her 1991 memoir, Me, Stories of My Life, Hepburn bared her soul, expressing, quote, "I loved Spencer Tracy." She acknowledges the sacrifices she made, altering aspects of her life to accommodate his preferences. When questioned about this in an interview with Katie Couric, Hepburn's response was as candid as it was heartfelt. quote, "It was my pleasure." He was a witty, amusing, entertaining man with a rather difficult nature. It was easy for me to please Spencer because I loved him. She added that she was attracted to his, quote, "sense of humor." He had a wonderful sense of humor and a remarkable memory. And I mean, what attracted me to Spencer Tracy is magic. Number 6. Judy Garland. In the glittering realm of Hollywood's golden age, Judy Garland emerged as one of its brightest stars. However, her ascent to fame, propelled by her iconic role in The Wizard of Oz, was accompanied by a series of heartbreaks that would eventually cast a shadow over her illustrious career, leaving behind a trail of broken marriages and untold sorrow. Garland's journey through the highs and lows of stardom began in her teenage years, when she became the face of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Discovered as a vaudeville performer, she was catapulted into the spotlight at the tender age of 19. It was during this time that Garland's personal life began to intertwine with the complexities of fame. In 1941, Garland took a leap into matrimony with composer David Rose, a decision met with disapproval from both her mother and MGM head Louis B. Mayer. Rose, being divorced and a decade her senior, faced opposition, yet the couple ventured into a life together. Settling in Bel Air near the MGM studios, the initial days of their marriage exuded love and joy. However, the facade of happiness crumbled, and by their first anniversary, Garland found herself in the throes of misery. Having grown up as a child star, Garland grappled with the emotional maturity of a 13-year-old, ill-equipped to navigate the responsibilities expected of a 1940s housewife. The strain intensified when she discovered she was pregnant. Fearing the impact on her career, her mother advocated for an abortion, a choice that Garland, succumbing to the pressures, reluctantly agreed to. The aftermath scarred the foundation of their marriage irreparably, leading to their divorce in 1944. On a fateful day, June 15, 1945, in the embrace of her mother's home, Judy Garland entered a new chapter of her tumultuous love life as she exchanged vows with director Vincente Minnelli. Their union, a product of their collaboration on the iconic film Meet Me in St. Louis, marked the beginning of a relationship that would both soar to great heights and plummet into the depths of despair. Minnelli and Garland's connection blossomed during the creation of Meet Me in St. Louis, a cinematic masterpiece that not only left an indelible mark on the audience, but also sowed the seeds of love between its star and director. Minnelli, recognizing Garland's potential for a more mature image, orchestrated a transformation, ushering her from the realm of a teenage sensation to that of a sophisticated and stylish woman. This evolution broadened Garland's fan base, attracting a new demographic enchanted by her newfound allure. The union bore fruit in 1946 with the birth of their daughter, Liza Minnelli, destined to follow in her mother's illustrious footsteps as a celebrated entertainer. Yet, mirroring Garland's past romantic endeavors, the fairy tale scripted with Minnelli faced its share of challenges. Garland's battle with addiction, a shadow cast from her early introduction to amphetamines and sleeping pills as a child actor, initiated a downward spiral into depression. After 15 years of dedicated service to MGM, Garland's dismissal marked a significant blow, triggering 2 suicide attempts. The repercussions of these struggles reverberated through her marriage with Minnelli, intensifying as Garland embarked on an extramarital affair. The emotional maelstrom proved insurmountable, leading to the couple's divorce in 1951. Number 5. Marilyn Monroe. It's been nearly 6 decades since Marilyn's untimely departure shook the world, yet the allure of the iconic star remains undiminished. Her legacy, a blend of innocence and sensuality, has transcended time, etching her name in the annals of Hollywood history. With a fortune that would be valued at $10 million today, Monroe's star power endures, and her life continues to captivate, particularly in the realm of alleged affairs that have become the stuff of legend. In the current era, a podcast titled The Killing of Marilyn Monroe has reignited public interest, delving into the mysterious web of relationships Marilyn supposedly shared with John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy. The tantalizing narrative raises questions about the extent to which scandalous affairs may have played a role in Marilyn's tragic demise. Celebrity affairs are no strangers to the headlines, and politicians, with their share of scandalous infidelities, often find themselves in the spotlight. Marilyn's rumored involvement with JFK and Robert Kennedy, however, elevated the gossip to explosive proportions, creating headlines that continue to resonate long after the alleged protagonists met their fates. The evidence surrounding the affair remains elusive, draped in the ambiguity of rumors. Already known as a reputed playboy, JFK's rumored connection with Marilyn gained momentum when she delivered a breathy rendition of Happy Birthday at Madison Square Garden in May 1962, just days before Kennedy's 45th birthday. The public, fueled by speculation, interpreted the performance as a concrete manifestation of the long-whispered-about affair. The killing of Marilyn Monroe thrust the spotlight back onto the legendary actress, weaving a narrative that alleges not only a romantic involvement between Marilyn and John F. Kennedy, but also implicates his brother Robert. The claims escalate further, contending that during their trysts, the Kennedys divulged state secrets to Marilyn, who, in turn, supposedly threatened to expose the information unless they publicly acknowledged their relationship with her. The podcast creators assert that Marilyn's demise was a result of a calculated move by the Kennedys to eliminate the perceived threat. However, a closer look at the evidence, or lack thereof, casts doubt on these sensational allegations. Those intimately acquainted with Marilyn's life concede the possibility of a brief encounter with JFK, suggesting it was a casual incident over a single weekend. Donald Spoto, the author of one of Marilyn's biographies, provides a timeline indicating that the pair met only 4 times between October 1961 and August 1962, with the alleged intimate moment occurring at Bing Crosby's house in March 1962. Despite assertions by some close to Marilyn that she acknowledged this solitary occurrence, there is a firm denial of an ongoing affair. The nature of the alleged liaison hardly aligns with the narrative of Marilyn possessing the inclination or intent to threaten the exposure of state secrets. The Kennedys, portrayed as orchestrators of Marilyn's demise in the podcast, may be victims of a speculative storyline. In all likelihood, if the affair did transpire, it appears to be a fleeting moment in the expansive history of 2 larger-than-life figures. The quest for truth in Marilyn's relationships and the circumstances surrounding her death remain elusive, shrouded in the complexities of fame, rumor, and the enduring mystique of Hollywood's golden age. Number 4. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth walked down the aisle not once, not twice, but 5 times throughout her tumultuous life. At the tender age of 18, she took her first plunge into matrimony with manager Edward Judson. Judson, recognizing her potential for all-American appeal, orchestrated a name change, adopting Hayworth from her mother's maiden name. Yet behind the facade of stardom, Hayworth's early marriage was far from a fairy tale. Judson, an astute hustler, leveraged her career, but had motives more aligned with investment rather than affection. Rita, reflecting on her first marriage, revealed, quote, "I married him for love. He married me for an investment. From the first, he told me I couldn't do anything for myself. My personality crawled deeper and deeper into a shell." Judson's influence extended beyond career management, leading Rita into morally dubious territory. He orchestrated encounters, including with the formidable Harry Conn, head of Columbia Pictures, who notoriously expected more than professional commitments from his female stars. Despite becoming the mistress of Howard Hughes, Rita drew a courageous line at Cohn, securing her place at Columbia. The transformation from a Latina dancer to America's love goddess was not merely cosmetic. Under the direction of Cohn and Judson, Rita shed 20 pounds, dyed her luscious locks auburn, and endured the painful process of electrolysis to raise her hairline, an arduous metamorphosis that took months. Acting lessons also became a part of her reinvention, fulfilling a long-standing aspiration. In the pantheon of Rita Hayworth's filmography, Gilda, crafted in 1946 and directed by Charles Vidor, stands as her magnum opus. Portraying the role of Gilda, a tempestuous femme fatale alongside Glenn Ford, Rita set the screen ablaze with her sensuality. Yet, as she poignantly noted, the character of Gilda was not a reflection of her true self. She ruefully remarked, quote, "Every man I know has fallen in love with Gilda and awakened with me." The spotlight on Rita Hayworth's life didn't dim after her transformative role in Gilda. In a peculiar turn of events, rumors surfaced linking her image to an impending atomic bomb test by the U.S. A photo of Hayworth, allegedly cut from an Esquire magazine issue, was said to be the inspiration behind the bizarre claim. While her husband at the time, Orson Welles, found it amusing, Rita was reported to have flown into a, quote, terrible rage. In September 1943, Rita exchanged vows with actor and director Orson Welles, whom she regarded as the love of her life. The birth of their daughter, Rebecca, should have marked the pinnacle of their happiness. However, Welles, known for his controlling nature, sought to mold Rita according to his vision. He recommended books for her to read and orchestrated changes to her image, including her iconic short blonde hair and a departure from dancing roles in films like The Lady from Shanghai, which he directed. The strain on their marriage became evident, leading to Rita's poignant declaration during their divorce proceedings, quote, "I can't take his genius anymore." Her third marriage catapulted Rita into the limelight once again. Ali Khan, the playboy son of the immensely wealthy Aga Khan, became her husband. Their affair began while they were both still married, but they managed to finalize their divorces in time for the birth of their daughter, Princess Yasmin. Despite the scandal surrounding their relationship, Rita's popularity endured. Her vulnerability resonated with audiences, transcending gender boundaries. Kim Novak, her co-star in Pal Joey, described Rita as, quote, "a tender, sensitive, beautiful human being, very gentle." Yet, her marriage with Ali Khan proved short-lived, culminating in an acrimonious divorce. Number 3. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando left a trail of emotional wreckage in his wake, fueled by an insatiable sexual appetite and a penchant for serial cheating. The victim of his tumultuous romantic entanglements was none other than Rita Moreno, whose shocking revelations provide a candid glimpse into the highs and lows of their relationship. Their story began on the set of the 1954 film Desiree, where 22-year-old Moreno first encountered the magnetic Brando. Little did she know that this encounter would mark the inception of a relationship that oscillated between intoxicating highs and devastating lows. Brando's breakout performance in A Streetcar Named Desire had recently catapulted him to stardom, adding an extra layer of allure to their passionate connection. Moreno, in a candid interview, bared the intensity of their sensual life, describing it as, quote, "unbelievable." The flames of their romance burned brightly, fueled by the undeniable chemistry that radiated between the two actors. However, beneath the surface of this fiery connection lurked Brando's insatiable sexual appetite and a propensity for serial cheating. The zenith of their relationship came 8 years later, marked by an alarming incident at Brando's home. Moreno, grappling with the emotional turmoil of their tumultuous affair, attempted suicide through an overdose. The attempt, fortunately, was unsuccessful, but it signaled the unraveling of a relationship that had been both exhilarating and destructive. In the aftermath of this dark chapter, Moreno emerged resilient. The split from Brando did not break her. Instead, she went on to etch her name in the annals of show business history. In 1977, she achieved the rare distinction of EGOT, winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, solidifying her status as one of the most celebrated figures in the entertainment industry. Number 2. Howard Hughes. It is difficult to find a figure who looms as large and enigmatic in the pages of Hollywood history as Howard Hughes. Terry Moore, an actress whose life intersected intimately with the eccentric tycoon, recently made bombshell allegations that peel back the layers of Hughes's complex persona. Moore, who was married to Hughes, sheds light on the contradictions that defined their relationship. In a startling revelation, Moore described Hughes as a liar and cruel, challenging the narrative she presented nearly 50 years ago. In a 1975 interview with the National Star, Moore portrayed Hughes as, quote, a man bothered about growing old, but surprisingly normal. She downplayed his oddities, suggesting that they were no more pronounced than those of an average person. However, she hinted at a mysterious side, asserting that the full picture of Hughes would one day be revealed, allowing the public to understand the patterns of his life and the motivations behind his actions. At the age of 94, Moore revisited her past assessments with a candidness that only time can afford. Quote, he was the most charming man you could ever find, she told People. Yet she didn't shy away from acknowledging the darker facets of Hughes' character. Quote, he was also a liar, and he did unthinkable things. He did so many things that hurt me. Was he cruel? These questions linger, painting a nuanced portrait of a man whose brilliance was matched only by the shadows he cast on the lives around him. Said Moore, quote, I guess you could say he was cruel, but I didn't know that he was cruel. He was just too much for me to handle. I was too naive. Moore acknowledged that Hughes had a penchant for secrecy. Quote, since nobody knows what he looks like, nobody bothers him, she asserted in 1975. However, she later recognized her own naivete during that time, admitting that Hughes's cruelty eluded her as she was blindsided by love, experiencing it for the first time. Their marriage spanned 8 tumultuous years, which in Moore's words were, quote, very complicated. The actress, celebrated for her role in the 1952 film Come Back, Little Sheba, unveiled the intricacies of a relationship that transcended the glamour of Hollywood. The couple secretly married in 1949 when Hughes was 23 years older than Moore, adding an extra layer of complexity to their union. Hughes himself met his end at the age of 70 in 1976, succumbing to kidney disease. Moore contended that he deserved this fate after years of manipulating her as a young woman. The Daily Mail reported her sentiments, painting a poignant picture of a relationship marked by love, deception, and the weight of an era when the public and private personas of Hollywood legends were often worlds apart. Number 1. Joan Crawford. When it comes to sordid and steamy Hollywood affairs, Joan Crawford and her sexual prowess is the stuff of legend. Over the course of her award-winning career, the star was just as infamous for her roles on-screen as she was for her lovers off-screen, something that's touched on in almost every episode of FX's anthology series Feud, Betty and Joan, from creator Ryan Murphy. It was Crawford's habit of sleeping with her co-stars and directors and using her body to get better angles and more screen time that once led Bette Davis to remark that Crawford, quote, slept with every male star at MGM except Lassie, and also made Crawford constant fodder for the gossip rags at the time. In an era when sexuality was one of women's most powerful tools, especially in a male-dominated industry like Hollywood, Crawford's approach to sex often took the men and rumored women in her life by surprise, especially when she would invite them someplace and then show up naked or recast her leading man with a hot new thing. Off-screen, Crawford often used her sexuality, going all the way back to her teen years when she danced in a Chicago club under the name Lucille LeSueur and reportedly slept with her stepfather. And it was a trait that stuck with her all the way through her career, right up until her death in 1977. The relationship between Crawford and Clark Gable is one of the most notorious affairs in Hollywood history. Although their on-again, off-again fling never resulted in anything long-term or serious, they starred together in 8 movies and constantly made headlines whenever they were seen together. Many speculate that the beginnings of Crawford and Davis's infamous feud began when Crawford learned Davis was attracted to Tone, her then co-star in the 1935 flick Dangerous. Crawford then invited Tone over to her place and answered the door naked, and she later married the actor out of what some said was spite. They divorced 3.5 years later. In 1937, Crawford supposedly slept with her mannequin co-star Spencer Tracy in what was a well-reported but brief fling. With regard to all of Crawford's reported affairs, it has to be said that her affair with Jackie Cooper, a 17-year-old actor, was the one that sparked the most controversy, primarily because he was so much younger than Crawford at the time. At age 34, Crawford reportedly let the child star use her badminton court. As he recalled it, one day he snuck a peek up her dress, made an advance at her and she closed the blinds. A 6-month dalliance supposedly ensued. Thank you for watching. If you found these scandalous stories as intriguing as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Hollywood deep dives, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, stay tuned.